when you get high and have some friends who help you figure out what it means. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the house on Battle Hill. Your guests tonight are Mr. Schaefer Hall, Mr. Philip Marinovich over here. Even Philippe, I don't know. Rolls Andre, ladies and gentlemen. And now the host of your show, Mr. Brandon Lorber. Give it up for Brandon Lorber. Oh my God! Oh my God! What are all these people doing in my house right now? What are these people? It's like Zuccotti up in here all of a sudden. It's crazy. Welcome, welcome to the house. Let's give it up here for Alex Battles and the Battle Hill Band. And welcome everybody to the house on Battle Hill. This is an amazing night. It's got brick on the front, this house, vinyl on the sides, and 20 layers of carpet, cardboard, and linoleum underneath this floor we're standing on right now. It may be falling down. It might have more leaks than pipes, more skeletons than closets, more as-yet undiscovered crime scenes than anywhere else in the 5 boroughs combined. But you know it's the people in the house, not the horsehair and the termites, the people who make this joint what it is. And when I look at you, I know what it is. And I can tell from what it was, what it will be. People have died in this house. People have been born in this house, born right on this very spot. People have moved in forever and left for even longer. My father left the planet before any of us ever set foot in this place. That's one of his paintings that I love looking at every day, but it wasn't always that way. When he was dying, I played the role of the disaffected, spiteful son in a protracted adolescence that in some ways continues to this day. But when he died, I felt more relief than grief. But then a funny thing happened. It wasn't that I missed him. It was that I came to know who he really had been. Every year that passes, my relationship with him becomes warmer, and the aspects of him that I see in myself and in my daughter Aurora, I've come to love in the way that you can only love something that you once really hated. When I was a kid, I wanted his gigantic, abstract, expressionist color fields to represent something. And now those big red fields represent everything. Speaking of leaving, though, and speaking of big red fields, now Schaefer Hall, the poet who incited this moment of coming together, he is leaving New York for Texas in a few days, which makes us all up here in New York very sad and ought to make everybody in Texas very afraid, like chainsaw afraid. But the fact is, the kind of seeing of him we will be doing in the future will be more pointed and mindful than during the decade or so he was just always around. When Brandon Downing and Eddie Berrigan lived in San Francisco and I lived here in New York, we used to see each other all the time and have really intense late-night conversations. But since they moved here, we see less of each other. So in a way, I'm psyched when people get lost, so they can get found. The same is true of the weather this winter, and of Occupy Wall Street. The fall's livable temperatures and the encampments have both been demolished, which makes us seek out even more mindful oases and intentional actions. And rather than nostalgically look back at the good times, it's an opportunity to transform ourselves, to make the absent present. It's time for us to be Schaefer, to be Marvin, to be the encampment. Tonight is the beginning of a new golden era in which you are the gold. And because the winter is a brutal thing, our only choice is to be the spring. Through the cold, dark months, every act of getting together is a rupture from the normal time and fills us with a spirit we couldn't get in the pea-scented Brooklyn summertime. It's why the holidays were invented by hunter-gatherers tens of thousands of years ago. Holidays that were co-opted by monotheistic marketing departments to control us, and later by capitalists to amp up those controllers. But the original reason was to replicate life. The life we find in the other 3 seasons and in each other. Here in the anti-climatic underworld. Down here, we can give blind Tiresias new sight by stringing together beautiful lights. And we can replicate Demeter and Persephone's reunion by joining with people we love and transform the cold winter night into one of warm comradeship or something even hotter. And speaking of hot, let's head on over to the Voodoo Lounge, shall we? Come on with me. And set a little fire in the organ of your choice with our first guest.
I asked my love to take a walk.
Now, let me tell you, the necropolis of Brooklyn expelled him down to Texas to show them there is something other than God to be under. He thinks that the red hair will make them Texans think he's Satan. Little do they know, he's the corporeal embodiment of Dionysus, right smack dab in the middle of 2012. Please, everybody here, help us welcome our first guest, Schaefer Hall.
What you got here, Brendan? A bottle of Judy Garland's Tears?
That's a little bit of that. Yeah, you left a little bit. You left one teardrop left.
That was for you.
Yeah, I like it.
Sorry, was I not supposed to drink all of that?
That's okay. We have a little bit.
Ooh.
A little bit more. I got a first question all ready for you. Texas versus Dionysus. Who wins?
Well, I gotta say, Brendan, I think the only loser there is me, right? I think that's the only casualty in that particular fight. But it was nice knowing, well, yeah, when those things come together, we can't all survive.
It's true.
We can't all live forever.
No, it's true.
Well, Dionysus can, Texas can. The rest of us, well, we'll see.
You're not making any sense. But it's...
Not for the last 72 hours, anyway.
It's true. And by 72 hours, you mean like 15 years?
Decades.
Yeah.
It's been decades.
Yeah. Next question was one that you fed me just about 15 minutes ago because you didn't like these questions. It was, I forget what the question was. You want to just...
Why are you going to Texas, Schaefer?
Oh, take a Schaefer. We're all wondering. I can't stop thinking. What is possessing you to go down to Texas?
I like those questions, too.
Yeah, I know. These are great questions, but I could ask you.
I have a buddy from out in New Jersey. His name's Albert Einstein. And he has this theory that says that the faster you go, the slower time goes.
Right.
So as soon as I saw that they'd raise speed limits on the Texas highways, I knew that everybody down in Texas would eventually be younger than everybody in the rest of the country. So that's what I decided.
So it's a little empirical, little experiment you're doing.
We got to stretch this out however we can, man. I'm not doing myself any favors, am I?
All the favors you're withholding from yourself, you're giving to humanity. You know that. I'm just saying that because I love you.
That was one of the most beautiful opening monologues that I've ever seen a late-night talk show host do. Everybody back there in the studio audience was holding each other and crying, practically.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
I really just want to destroy everyone.
I mean, we're all a little fragile because of the weekend, but...
It's true.
What else you got on that list?
Let's see. Well, there's this question. Well, actually, I wanted to ask you about this bar. It's called the Mongoose.
Mongoose versus Cobra.
Right. What's with that?
Well...
Why can't it have a normal...
You know, actually the fight between the Mongoose, as poisonous and crazy as the Cobra is, the fight between the Mongoose and the Cobra is actually a one-sided fight. The Mongoose is the heavy favorite every time those two get together.
Right.
Because the Mongoose is supposedly the Mongoose is actually immune to the Cobra's poison. So talking to some...
Like the monarch butterfly.
Talking to some people down on 6th Avenue on a Tuesday night at about 3 a.m. at the Four-Faced Liar. You know, yeah, some guy over there like spouting about Hitler. Sure. And, you know, some other lady's telling you that you should turn the heat up, and it's August. You know,
right.
You got to be immune to that. As a bartender, you got to be immune to that kind of poison that happens. And so that's the...
So having been a bartender and a poet in New York for the last, like, 12, 15 years or so, you've every day you've drunk a little more poison.
We like to think that we've
figuratively,
built,
and
I
guess literally.
We've built up an immunity.
Yes.
And that's why it'll be a nice place to visit.
I guess the final question, and then we'll get our next guest in. But I want you to stay. I want you to stick around.
I'd love to hang around.
Yeah.
Mostly because all of the drinks are right here.
Because of the very special guests on the table. You are said, and this may be inaccurate, you're said to have invented the game where you unzip your fly slightly and ask people
dick or ball.
Ask people dick or ball. So my final question is, because it's never really been resolved, is which one is it?
Little secret.
You're just going to take that, you just whisper it.
Just between you and
me. Yeah, they don't have them.
Can we make sure that like none of my cousins or anybody can Google this?
No, this is just for me to remember you.
Brendan.
Yeah, just whisper it. I don't want them to know.
Always bet on ball.
So our next guest.
Is it time for me to read the weather?
No, that's the end. Weather's coming up. Stick around. Our next guest is a white shirt of the human spirit, a whirling dervish, a doorway to the infinite. He also has a head that if you turn it upside down, it's the same face. But more importantly, he's a people's librarian at Occupy Wall Street and one of the creators of the Occupy anthology. Let's get some major upsparkles for Philip Marinovich. Come on over.
Jingle bell, all the time, riding one horse open sleigh.
I requested there's a tier of beer, and they're giving me jingle bells instead. It's like I'm at the dead again.
Sometimes my dear Tiresias, you get what you need.
That's right.
First question.
Yeah.
It's the speed round. First question. The library at Occupy Wall Street was destroyed in many ways. Why is the library's destruction important, and why is it existent? The existence of the library in the first place. Why is it important?
Well, I would argue that it hasn't actually been destroyed.
Yeah.
I would say it's been dismembered, torn apart, disintegrated, blown to smithereens. In other words, destroyed. But not destroyed.
I was just to say, you're kind of describing Schaefer on any given
but not destroyed.
He's still here, right?
I feel like it's done. I feel like the library has pulled this kind of Osiris routine, and it's up to all of us to step into the ISIS role and piece that library together again. It's a kind of Obi-Wan Kenobi library situation where you destroy the library and it becomes more powerful than I have ever been. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's very important. I mean, listen, I am a one-horse town. And the horse is poetry, and my body is the town, and the Occupy Wall Street Library is the town library in that town. And in that town, you don't need to check the books out. You just take them out. You don't need to pay late fees. And without money, in the absence of money, there is a lack. And in that lack, desire floods the place.
Right.
So you go to the Occupy Wall Street Library at Sherwood Forest, Zuccotti, what is it, Zuccotti Park? Zuccotti Arc? On the flood, wherever it is.
That big orange
you
thing.
go there, that big orange
red
thing.
No,
the big red thing.
Schaefer's the big
Joie de
orange thing.
vivre. And you go there, and it's, you know, you meet people you would never otherwise meet. I mean, you know, as New Yorkers, we're dealing with the fact that, like, we've been taught that we can live on drugstores and banks alone. And the Occupy Wall Street Library destroys that whole myth. Not to mention the fact that Occupy Wall Street Library, as is, when you write it on the book, you say owsel. And that looks like owls when you're as dyslexic as all poets are. So then you can start to compose the dyslexicon of eternal desire at the library, on site, in situ, and therefore create a whole body of work to present to the Poetry Assembly every Friday night.
That brings me to my second question.
Okay, go for it.
You once told me,
Mm-hmm.
over at Zinc Bar a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
that we are the ancients.
Mm.
Now, it's a two-part question.
Mm-hmm.
Who are we,
Mm.
and what the hell are you talking about?
Well, we means yes in French, which is the first thing we have to realize.
Certainly.
And then after all, you know, we are
I still
everybody.
love you, but I need
All
two-
of
I need
us,
two hands to do
all
this.
of
Sorry,
us who
Alex.
have ever lived are we,
Right.
and all of us to come are we. And we are humans. The only way to look at this whole position, you know, as United States citizens, the only way to look at this whole global catastrophe and process is through this lens of humility that each of us has to construct for ourselves. So in that sense, each of us are ancients because we have to see that each of us in some way still thinks the world is flat. Okay, so in other words, there's all this news coming out now about the multiverse, you know, so we've been brought up on this theory of the universe, so what's the multiverse? We don't know. So we're always leaping from this flat world into the unknown, right? So in that sense, we are the ancients, in the sense that like all this stuff that we know is just you know, a chalk drawing on the Altamira cave. We have our own present equivalent of that, and sometimes it flashes into our knowledge what that is, and sometimes we don't know. Most of the time we don't know. So we gather to figure it out together.
Right, which leads organically to the final question.
Good. Okay.
How do you know that this isn't just a dream? Because over
It
the
is.
last, over the last maybe 3 minutes or so, I've become completely convinced that it is.
I have entered REM sleep in the past 3 minutes. And let me tell you, my eyeballs are ping-ponging all around the place. I'm a pinball wizard. There has to be a twist. Pinball wizard's got such a supple wrist.
Philippe, you're the first person I've understood in weeks.
Cheers to that.
Here, here. Hey, you know what?
Yes.
I think this party would not be complete if we didn't bring out our third guest.
Let's do it.
Okay.
It's my last night in town, and I was hoping that we could get down. Mr. Rosen?
Ladies and gentlemen, Rose Andre.
If it isn't Thanksgiving, if our next guest hasn't taken a turkey nap right here on the okay. He's a brilliant
I
playwright.
think he might be taking a nap back there. I was just drinking, y'all. I was just drinking.
All right.
Brendan.
I'm not done with your intro, but have a seat.
Oh, yeah.
If you want, you can get up and come back a few more times.
Not yet.
Yeah. Rolls Andre, ladies and gentlemen, is a brilliant playwright. And the funniest man, perhaps, arguably, as the New York Times would say, arguably, the funniest man ever. We could walk across the street right now to the Greenwood Cemetery, dig up Leonard Bernstein, Michel Basquiat, and the guy who founded Parsons, and Rolls Andre over there could make them all blush, all those old timers, with a single one-liner. So please, for a second time, come on over here, Rolls. Everybody please welcome Rolls.
Yes. Hello. Let me get myself situated.
Yes.
Hey, Rose, you know what this is? What?
To borrow Judy Garland's tears.
I had my whole bit worked out. Hey, how y'all doing?
I'm much better for seeing you, Rolls.
Oh, thank you.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
No.
No.
I think somebody threw the GPS out the car window. First question.
Yes.
First question. What's with playwrights? Am I right?
Yeah. I wish I could answer you. I don't consider myself a playwright.
What do you
I
consider?
consider myself, Brendan, I'm like you, baby. I'm a writer performer. I'm trying to.
No, I'm neither of those.
Well, obviously, I'm trying to
I
bug
don't-
you up, but
yeah.
but I'm just I'm just trying to say
the words.
He's don't associate those.
I'm just trying to say, I'm just trying to like tap into that big, unwashed audience like you. That's all.
Yeah.
The Lorber, all that stuff.
The
You
more
got it going
unwashed,
on.
the better.
Yes.
That's why I look around.
Yeah, I fit right in with
It had
those.
been a few days, but I took a shower today.
Good for you. Good for
Nice.
you. You're looking good, Shane.
With water?
You got a good, healthy coat.
Next question.
Yes.
This is a very serious question.
Yes.
This is like inside the actor's studio kind of a question.
All right.
Is comedy better suited for some topics than others? That is to say, is there anything that would work as a comedy that you wouldn't necessarily think? Like, technically, it should not work.
I'm gonna be frank about that.
And Frank?
And frank.
Yeah.
I'll keep it quiet.
Yeah. I figured as much.
Wow. Way to step on a guy's joke.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
It's not
You
really-
guys just blew my mind.
Hey, let me get some of those Judy Garland's tears. Huh?
I stole that joke from Rolls, by the way.
Yeah, you did?
He said it to me in the green room. I was like, I'm going to steal that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's not every day you have a talk show where there's a 40 of James. Just being passed
No,
around.
not often. Not often.
Yeah.
Not often enough.
Should we move on to the final question?
What's the final question?
Here's the final question. It's marry, fuck, kill.
Uh-huh.
Rick Perry, Ricky Schroeder, Rick Shaw.
Rick Perry? I'm not very political, so I say kill all the white ones. that work?
Yes!
I think that's
And Rick Shaw.
You are correct, sir.
I think I fucked Rick Shaw's sister lump sum.
I think we've successfully ruined all
Not
the
sure where we just went there.
Yeah, we went to very.
I'll go there.
We got any more questions? We got anything else?
We've got another question, a very important question, which everybody at home I think is really that's what they tuned in for in the first place.
Lottery numbers.
The weather. And Rolls, I want you to take it first right here from the top. What's the weather going to be this week? Rolls, Monday and Tuesday.
Monday and Tuesday, we have a high of 46 and a low of 37. Partly sunny.
Philip, Wednesday, Thursday.
A high of 52, a low of 46. Rain. And then Thursday, a high of 55 with a low of 39. Sunny.
Rain and sun. Crazy. Can't make up its mind. Schaefer,
Contradictory.
tell us about Friday, the future.
Friday we have a high of 45 and a low of 32, but it'll be sunny, so get your boat. Get your sunscreen.
Get your boat shorts
Boats.
on.
Get your boats.
Get your boats.
I was going to say boats.
Hey, you know what? That's it for us here at the house on Battle Hill. Let's get Alex and the Battle Hill Band to give us a little bit of graphic here music.
You mean the greatest band in the world?
Arguably the greatest band in the world. And if we're lucky, we're going to run into Tracy McTague for a closing benediction poem.
Better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He's making a list and checking it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not cry.
Unctuous decline. 1% of the 99% are aware of the 1%. Pearl's evidence of pain. Cyprian charms for a shot collar refund. In the cave and on the phone. Wonder why lies lassoed for head cases. Tongue twister. Pulls petals, love me nots. Eked out questions. Get your diabetes socks over here. Getting into the back seat fairly early these days. Cestus messed us up. He hath awakened from the dream of life, such invulnerable nothings.